we'll go ahead and start. We're seeing the birds tonight.
Yes.
Good memories and bad. What's your best memory, your worst memory from that?
It's a mixture. It was an incredible time of my life because The Birds was my first film, and I had the unique experience of having Alfred Hitchcock as my drama coach, which was amazing. And you know, the techniques he taught me, I've used all my life. It's amazing.
How about the worst memory from that?
Oh, well.
Or
You mean during doing the film?
Yes, ma'am.
Obviously, the scene at the end of the movie was the worst. I mean, that was, you know, and when I first read the script, I said, Mr. Hitchcock, there's a couple of questions I have about the script. First of all, at the end of the film, where the whole little town of Bodega Bay has just been a disaster. And people have been killed, and I mean, we're boarded up in this house, and could you tell me why I go up those stairs all by myself? And there's a perfectly able-bodied man sitting right across the coffee table from me. And he looked at me like he had never thought of that question.
really?
And he said, because I tell you to. Perfect. I said, my second question is, and how would we be doing the scene where I open the door and all of those birds start attacking? And he said, oh, we'll use the mechanical birds like we were doing with the children. Perfect. Well, we got to that scene at the end of the filming schedule, and I was in my dressing room on the set, and the first AD came in, and he couldn't look at me. He looked at the floor and the walls and the ceiling, and I said, Jim, what's the matter with you? And he said, the mechanical birds don't work, we have to use real ones. And out the door he sailed, and I picked my jaw up from the floor and went out to the set, and there wasn't a mechanical bird in sight. But there was a cage built around the door I walk in, and inside the cage were 4 huge cartons of crow, raven, and gull, and a few pigeons thrown in, with bird trainers with gauntlets up to their shoulders, which they hurled birds at me for 5 days. So that was kind of...
Do you have a new appreciation for people who are goalies in hockey after being those?
Absolutely. I do. Yeah.
Can you talk about being here in Charlottesville for the 50th anniversary of the movie, and then being here at the film festival?
Yeah, well, you know, I am thrilled with being in Charlottesville. I had no idea that this kind of beauty existed. And it's no matter where we have been going, and we drove around a lot today, excuse me, and everywhere, no matter where you look, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I've just been blown away by this city. And I love going to festivals, and they're all different. And I find this to be a very serious film festival, which is delightful. And seems to me that people are really interested in the movies and all about movies, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Making The Birds as your first film must have been like a baptism by fire. How would you compare Alfred Hitchcock's directing style to other directors you've worked with?
I don't think you can compare his style of directing or anything to anyone else. I have dichotomous feelings about the man, but I certainly will never ever downgrade his talent and his genius. The man was a genius, and I think there's no doubt about that. I frankly feel very fortunate that I can separate the two, the man himself and his genius.
One of our prior guests at the film festival back in 1989 was Jimmy Stewart, who of course was in several of the
Oh, yes.
Alfred Hitchcock. But he made a movie with Hitchcock in 1948 called Rose, in which
Oh, yes. Unique.
there were a whole lot of camera shot selections that were completely, Hollywood was completely floored by some of the things that he
you
chose
bet.
to do. Now, Mr. Stewart was 40 years old at the time that happened. He'd already been through World War II, so he was sort of ready for this, maybe more ready than you were in your circumstances. But
Rope was a unique film. I mean, when you hear of anybody say, I'm going to do a film and I'm going to have only one take, it's going to be one take. He's, what? But he did it. He did it, and it was never done again, which is not a surprise because I think it was the most complicated film ever made. I mean, from the DP's point of view.
is it unfortunate for Hollywood that you don't have people who are willing to take such daring moves? Because that was, obviously the actors. I mean, Jimmy Stewart was no spring chicken.
No, he
in
wasn't.
1948, he would
No.
already made, Mr. Smith Goes to
He was
Washington
a
like
big star.
9 years
He was
earlier.
a big star at that time.
And he said he was taken aback by what Hitchcock was telling him to do.
Yes.
And obviously the younger actors who were there with him, we're going to do what?
See, I would have loved that. I would have loved that. But then it wasn't a girl's turn.
Ms. Hedren, question about with the cast with the Birds. It's quite an eclectic group. And Rod Taylor, yourself,
Yes.
Jessica Tandy, Suzanne Pleshette. I mean, if you listed all those names and said well, they've all appeared in a movie together, nowadays, thinking about their careers, you might have said no. But what a wonderful group of actors. Any remembrances of those people that you
Oh,
that you worked
absolutely. And in fact, all of them. I've recently seen Rod Taylor. They were doing a film about him, and he wanted to have me involved in it, which was really wonderful. So we spent some time, being able to talk and reminisce and all of that. And of course, I miss Susie Pleshette terribly. That was way too young for her to go away.
Jessica and Angela
Jessica.
Cartwright, I think, also too. In that,
Yes, yeah. Yeah, she was.
Veronica was
Veronica.
one of the Cartwright girls.
Yeah, I think she was 11.
Yeah, she was pretty young.
Her take on the film is quite different from the rest
Really?
of us. Yeah.
I can imagine. Well, you had to be in the attic for. I mean, we hear about the shower scene in Psycho all the time. I often refer to the attic scene because I think about you having to be up there with those birds being thrown on you, and that must. I mean, as you say, it was very difficult filming. But that scene to me was as terrorizing as the shower scene in Psycho. I thought it was quite effective.
Yeah.
Memories of working with Sean Connery in
Oh
Marnie?
yes, but I have to finish with Jessica Tandy, who is
Oh, I'm sorry.
probably the most wonderful woman. And of course, her background is theater, and so she would look kind of askance every now and then at things that went on, making films and that sort of thing. But she literally saved the birds because of one scene. The scene where I bring the tea in for Jessica after she has seen the murder of the the farming by the ravens and gulls, and I bring her tea, because she's very, very upset, and tea always helps,
It did back then.
I would. So anyway, just before we went in to have the first take, Hitchcock said to me, he came up to me as this first, sort of directives, and he said, I want you to play this in a very bitchy manner, and I went, okay, all right, So I did, and later, after it was edited, Jessica went into the editing room with Hitch to watch the scene. And she watched it, and she turned to him, and she said, nobody's going to like that girl. And now, meanwhile, the set has been packed away, it's been taken down, stored, whatever. All of a sudden, this set comes back, and we did it over, and I was, very compassionate. And it was the first real lesson I had that had a great meaning to me of how you can completely change a movie with one scene, how it can completely go a different way. And it did make a tremendous difference. I looked at the two scenes and went, oh, I mean, I was thrilled because I could see that the acting was so different and so powerful that when it was done right, it was amazing.
Did Mr. Hitchcock feel that way after he saw the reworked
Well,
scene?
he had to. Of course, he would never give.
Oh, he would never
credit.
admit it, yeah.
But I will.
Sure.
It's 50 years later, and your film is being featured here. Can you talk about the legacy of the movie and like how Hitchcock still influences directors, and just like what's it like to be part of a film that's still a legacy?
And you plan to be through with this tonight? Okay. Well, first of all, it has been amazing to me, the life of the birds. I mean, truly amazing. I often wonder why it has this power, but every 10 years, every decade, there's a new batch of bird lovers. And it's, we were talking about it at the university today. And what is it that makes the birds so incredibly popular? And that not only people who saw it when it first came out in 1963, but young people of today, they study it. It has an amazing life. And I think that answer came, one of the students said, what do you think about the ending of the birds? And I said, I think that's the attraction of the film, because of the fact that everybody is able to use his own brain to make their own ending to this film. And I really think that is what makes it so successful. That it isn't told to them. We're told everything. All we do is watch television. And this way we have to think. Oh, let's see. What do I think happened? And I think that works. In the Daphne du Maurier story, it's the end of the world. I don't know if any of you have read it, but it's a 15-minute read, and it's the end of the world. The birds take over the world. Well, that's pretty final, isn't it? Yeah, there isn't much discussion after that.
It's like On the Beach.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you.
that's a
Thanks so much.
thing.
Another Gregory Peck.
Thank you.
Yes.
You had a great
And
deal of garden.
excellent. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you so much.
It's a whole bunch.
That was fun.
Sorry to miss you, Dave.